Hi, today we are diving into one of the most exciting topics of advanced material companies, an extremely exciting niche for a global game changer in countless industries. It's all about a material, but is capable of changing our life in many ways, from the production of solar panels to fire retardancy or even clothing. I'm talking about graphene, and one of the few companies that is able to produce this high-quality material of the future is First Graphene Limited, the world-leading graphene producer. With me is Mike Bell, the new CEO of First Graphene Limited. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Great to be here and happy to share what I can about First Graphene.
Yeah, thank you. Mike, on the one side, First Graphene is positioning itself as the graphene producer with an operation in Western Australia. On the other hand, you are pushing scientific research projects to develop more use cases. Can you describe your strategy behind that and the direction you're heading in the future?
Yeah, I think the best way to answer the question is to really look back on the company's history over the last 4 or 5 years to then sort of plot out what our next phase is. Early stage businesses or businesses like ourselves do develop in stages, and especially when you're talking about new materials. Over the last 4 to 5 years, we've invested heavily in scientific research and development of our production process and also early stage use of graphene. Essentially, that is how to make high quality graphene in commercial volumes with a repeatable and controllable process. And then, like I said, the scientific research to develop intellectual property as to how we produce and also drive demand for graphene. And more importantly, understanding where graphene is a good solution. Looking forward, with our modular process or modular production process banked, we now revert our focus or look at different areas that we now can evolve into creating a commercially viable business. Ultimately, that is to drive demand for Pure Graph, our graphene product, and secondly, continue that scientific research to help us understand clients' applications, what problems graphene would solve for them, and identify ways to incorporate graphene into clients' products. Also, part of that process is to reduce our overall trial and test period that ultimately reduce sales cycle times while we maximize our rate of success. And lastly, to create intellectual property around blue sky applications of graphene, still ultimately driving demand. These points broadly cover our strategy. As I said, we've focused and we've banked the process of producing graphene in commercial volumes. Our strategy now is to commercialize our product, to build a viable business, and that investment into the scientific side will remain as we refine our ability to sell and get success in new products.
Yeah, very interesting to see your strategy shifting towards the market, towards accessing. And with your background, you may focus more on the management and the growth development rather than this scientific perspective. What experience can you bring personally into the development of First Graphene Limited? And which direction will you push further? I have heard that you want to focus the active selling approach, as you mentioned before, so going into the market. Is that right? And what does that mean for your investors and shareholders in a period of the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is really a continuation of your first question. And be able to focus on the management of growth. We need to appreciate the work that's gone in developing the Henderson facility and our ability to produce, high quality, high volume graphene, and it's key to what we focus on next. With that in mind, our focus now shifts, as I've said, to building a viable commercial business and driving ultimately a pipeline of demand for Pure Graph, our product. Mm-hmm. My experience relates quite well to that phase, with my experience being specifically in high growth businesses across a broad range of industries. I understand the complexities and challenges of rapidly expanding businesses, especially in niche and disruptive technologies, how to manage our production capability and capacity to match that demand, developing new products, and the overall management of fast-paced businesses. I've only been on board for sort of 3 months now, but the pace in which you move from ideas, early stage inquiries through to trials and to ultimately production volumes, it is fast and it does have a large number of challenges. So being able to manage that is a real requirement. With the sheer breadth of opportunities that we see, it's really critical that you pick the best ones. And I like to refer it to, or in the words of our chairman, pick the best lollies from the lolly jar. We have an application sale-based process. So that means it's not simply selling a product on day one. This is a technical validation of a solution, and then a commercial you back it up with commercial agreements, etc. It's a much longer sales cycle, and your resources, both technical and commercial, need to be managed very, very closely. So that's a skill in itself. This also ripples through into when we take a proactive sales approach into markets we know we have proven applications, and where graphene has the best impact. So it allows us to maximize investment in people and time, investment on applying the same scientific research to sales efforts to sell into the same application, if that makes sense. Yeah. What can investors expect from that? Continued scientific investment in selected markets and applications. This is areas that we can see large demand or large growth rates for the use of graphene, and that we can share that research across a number of different applications. We will have an aggressive rollout of strategies to get sales strategies to get graphene to the commercial markets via our commercial managers, which you may know we're trying to recruit at the moment, and they are specific to market segments and just more effective selling in markets and applications.
Okay. We talked about concrete before, and you are developing new variants of concrete additives. So what difference will that make in the construction industry, and which chances will result for our investors?
Okay. The concrete and cement industry is absolutely critical to us. And it's critical because of the sheer volume that the cement market represents to us. I had a similar question the other day. There's a lot of hype and talk about what I would classify as sexy graphene products, the products that everybody can relate to and either use every day or see some benefit from. But a lot of these applications use very small amounts of graphene. Where you look at the more traditional industrial segments like the construction industry, the volumes they dwarf what these sort of sexy applications are. They're just so much greater. And so, like I say, the cement industry is critical to us because it will make up a very large portion of our demand pipeline. Essentially, in the construction space or in the concrete space, by adding very small levels of graphene, we create, in short, stronger concrete. This happens by modifying the cure chemistry of the cement, enabling larger cement crystals to form, which in turn improves the strength, improves the water resilience. It also means that for an equivalent concrete product, you can use less cement and in turn produce less CO2. The CO2 emissions from the construction on the cement industry is a big problem, and being able to contribute to the reduction of that is pretty exciting. So given the multiple benefits that graphenes provide to the process and the industry, it's hard to imagine there not being significant interest, i.e. increased demand growth for pure graph.
Yeah, really exciting. Talking about another topic, renewable energy, the storage of energy is often the bottleneck of being successful in that field. As I can see, you're also working on solutions for these difficulties. What can we expect from your alternative energy storage projects using graphene?
Yeah, it's a real segment of interest, and it's I guess this energy storage market is broad and it's generating huge amount of interest, both from a science and academic side as well as the investment front. Everyone is reliant on energy storage systems in some capacity, whether it's your phone or your electrical vehicle, and everybody has frustrations with the existing chemistry, i.e. my battery runs out too soon, or I only get a day charge out of my phone. Graphene is a potential advanced material that could be part of a solution to the current power density limits. So While it's not, a solution in itself, it could make up a very considerable part of the solution. We are investing in both battery and supercapacitor forms of energy storage. And this is at a technical and scientific level. We believe the long-term solution for things like electrical vehicles will probably include both forms of energy storage. So batteries, lithium-ion, next generation lithium-ion batteries, as well as supercapacitors. And that comes down to how they deliver their electrical charge. It's an exciting space, but also a busy space. We are making progress in our chosen areas of research and how it ultimately drives future demand for graphene.
Yeah, interesting to see when it even comes down to consumer technology like my smartphone with the battery in it.
Yes.
Okay, talking about your proactive selling approach, I would like to know how effective it already is. So do you acquire enough potential clients to begin working profitable? And in your field with graphene, there are not many competitors, but do you already have to compete with others?
It's a great question. I love answering this one because it's one of the very, very special things about First Graphene and the graphene industry. We have attracted a huge number of reputable, interested parties that are really committed to evaluating and implementing this disruptive technology. That, along with opportunities in the hundreds, but we only need 3 or 4 of those larger opportunities to come true to basically push us towards that point of operating profitable. So in short, to answer the question, yes, we do have enough customers. But despite that, despite having significant client numbers and opportunity base, our focus is to target specific industries and segments proactively to enable a faster demand growth. So where we have a success in, let's say, a GRP application, glass fiber, we then can take that same scientific research and application proof and then penetrate and target every GRP application globally. It doesn't take us any more scientific research to show a benefit. So that's really exciting. In terms of competitors, we don't really have any as such that can provide the production capability and quantity, and also the repeatable nature of our process. And that's one of our key differentiators is that capability. There are many companies in graphene that claim things, but really on closer inspection, it's usually more about wish lists than reality. And so, that sort of combination of things does make First Graphene really exciting as a company and as our opportunity grows.
Okay, thanks for giving insights on that. So you are focused on different segments and go deeper into the segments and not all of the market.
Yes.
With Pure Graph, you're aiming to, you call it the Graphene Revolution, to deliver a Graphene Revolution. Can you explain to us and our investors what Graphene Revolution really means and what we can expect from your recent business cooperations with Brazil's largest steel producer?
Yeah, the term Graphene Revolution, I guess, it's a really simple way of stating graphene's potential positive impact on such a broad range of industries and applications. It potentially solves so many frustrations, problems, expenses, even environmental challenges that it's difficult to classify it any other way other than a revolution. For example, if you look at the characteristics of graphene, it can add strength, it can improve conductivity, it has fire retardancy, abrasion resistance, thermal management, it has hydrophobic properties, and it's capable of being dispersed across such a broad range of materials like rubbers and plastics, composites, cements, etc. So if you look at the horizon that then touches on, you're not trying to sell a product that is unique to one application or one problem. The world is our oyster. It's so broad. There's so many different applications that you can actually prove a benefit. If you look at what we've done recently, we've shown that sacrificial wear liners in the mining industry, we can get a 6-fold increase in lifespan. Now that is a significant change in the way mining companies would run their maintenance programs, overall cost, etc. So massive benefit. Same in concrete. We can show a 30% increase in concrete strength, which means you use less cement and subsequently reduce CO2 emissions. So they're not small benefits. These are very significant changes. The technical challenge is how you disperse graphene into these materials, and which is an attribute that which attribute graphene solves. This is key to essentially growing our intellectual property. There is one thing to have graphene available and be able to produce it, but to be able to understand how you disperse it in all these different materials becomes our core IP. So that's all sort of bundles it all together into what we consider a revolution. In terms of Godard is very well aligned to us in terms of the applications and industries they want to focus on. So a lot of our efforts are collaborative, and it's great to have a partner of that size and that sort of commitment to progress ahead with. They will help us accelerate the global adoption of graphene across the commercial landscape without question.
Yeah, of course. It's amazing to see how wide the range of possibilities is using graphene. It's great.
Yeah, it is massively exciting, just the sheer breadth of it. And look, that brings about lots of problems as well. If we as a company tried to explore every one of those opportunities, we would probably fail by not having enough resources to be successful. We have to rationalize our products and the opportunities down to a manageable group that we can then be successful in every one versus the entire sort of global opportunity list.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about some markets. In Europe, you have some licenses for the REACH, and in Australia, the AICIS registration. Can you please comment on both topics?
Yeah, certifications are critical to sell in volume, and we continue to advance other international certifications like the US. These certifications are also a point of differentiation for us. They help us with the broader acceptance of graphene globally. In Europe, we're involved in standard setting ISO committee, so definite sort of push there to standardize the overall specifications of graphene. As opportunities expand and as proven applications develop, we will continue to ensure our registrations and certifications are compliant and never become an impediment to growth.
Let's talk about some markets. In Europe, you have some licenses for the REACH, and in Australia, the AICIS registration. So you can say that your company is expecting to extend the European involvement?
Yes. Our interest in Europe, and I guess the acceptance of new advanced materials, it's actually more progressive in Europe. So it definitely aligns quite well with us and the segments that we're expanding in.
Mike, our investors want to know more about your valuation, also compared to your competitors. Can you explain your point of view about your current valuation?
The sector I would consider as opaque, meaning not overly transparent. It's often not indicative of reality, I think, in some cases. Valuations are driven more by promotion rather than fundamentals. As I previously said, there's no real competitor. We don't have any real competitors in our space that sort of offer our volume as well as our really high quality and repeatable product. And that makes us pretty unique and special in the graphene market. That's
So would you say your valuation is not a real picture of how the company is going? So is it kind of underrated in your point of view?
I would always say it's undervalued.
Okay.
As I've covered, in this session, the opportunities are just immense. There is so many opportunities for us to prove the benefit of graphene and drive demand. It's hard to get your head around how many there are and to be able to resource it accordingly to turn those into revenue. It's a huge potential market, and it's massively exciting. Doesn't matter how much we talk about it and sell the idea. It's hard for anybody to appreciate how broad and how how positive that outlook is.
Yeah, it might be also because you act in many fields with many uncertainties. Many things are new, many developments of products didn't existed before. So sometimes you need cash for further research and development. What is First Graphene's current cash position?
So First Graphene is not a company that needs funding for large capital expenditure. So there's nothing really intimidating in our future cash needs. At present, we're progressing towards stronger cash flows from operations. Our needs are more dictated by working capital requirements. As you'll know, all expanding companies need expanding working capital. So you should expect at times our cash flow from operations will need to be supplemented by equity issues, but these will always be very modest. At present, our cash flow position is really strong. We do harbour frequent inquiries from groups that want to provide funds or take placements, but we're becoming increasingly selective about who we invite onto our register. We've never had trouble raising money, as you can expect from just the exciting story and the huge potential that we have in front of us. We don't expect to have any problems if we needed to raise cash. We have 20 million worth of options that become due in August. So it all feeds into a very positive standpoint at this stage.
Okay, sounds good. We covered many exciting topics today, but let's sum up. What are the 3 main reasons investors should decide to buy into First Graphene right now?
So as I probably did a very, very poor job at doing, the growth potential of this is so exciting. We have now, like I said, we've banked the idea, the reality of being able to produce graphene in large commercial quantities at a very high quality and a very repeatable process. We've done that. We've got that in process in terms of processing product. We can now solely focus on the commercialization of that, basically driving demand for our pure graph product. And we will do that through a structured approach to industries and applications. But just as I've said, the sheer breadth and number of opportunities is so exciting. So that would be number one. Number two, and it's sort of more of a recap, I would say, is having bank supply and process volume ticked off our list. We only have one focal point, which is selling. We've also had, myself coming into the company. We've also had a new CFO. We also are looking to expand with commercial managers. We have new management that brings about new energy. And that's always a factor of an evolving business. It's often a case where you need to re-energize the opportunities and the leadership of it. So we've got that. And I guess having the product line that we have, the potential growth curve, it's the growth curve itself would be the envy of any industry or any investor. So I hope that answers the question.
It is a good answer. Thank you, Mike, for showing us all the exciting opportunities. I hope to have another update soon. It's developing at a fast pace, so really exciting. Thank you for the interview.
Yeah, thank you so much. Much appreciated.